Good evening and welcome to the late night edition with me, Ayushman Jamwal. Our top story is that Separatist leader Yasin Malik has pleaded guilty to all the charges, including those under the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act or the UAPA, before a Delhi court in a 2017 case related to terrorism and secessionist activities in the Kashmir Valley. Malik has told the court that he was not contesting the charges leveled against him, including charges of terror, terror funding, conspiracy, and sedition. The court will hear the arguments regarding the quantum of punishment on the 19th of May. He faces life imprisonment as the maximum punishment. The court, meanwhile, formally framed charges against other Kashmiri separatist leaders, including Farooq Ahmad Dar, alias Britta Karate, Shabir Shah, Masrat Alam, among others. The charge sheet was also filed against Lashkar-e-Taiba founder Hafiz Saeed and Hizbul Mujahideen chief Syed Salahuddin, who have been declared as proclaimed offenders. That is the big piece of news when it comes to the war on terror in Jammu and Kashmir, where one of the most dreaded terrorists of the Kashmir Valley, Yasin Malik, has now pled guilty in a Delhi court. I'm joined by Arunima on the broadcast to get more details on this entire development that has come in the ongoing fight against terror in Jammu and Kashmir. Arunima, decode the kind of the impact of this development that has taken place in the judiciary, where Yasin Malik has not even countered the charges that have been leveled against him, and now he's a convict and faces life imprisonment for all the activities the Jammu and Kashmir Liberation Front has done in the valley.
Well, he's still an under trial in this particular case. This was a case by the National Investigation Agency in the matter of terror funding. What NIA said in its charge sheet was that money was being pumped into Jammu and Kashmir by Lashkar-e-Taiba, by Hafiz Saeed, by Hizbul Mujahideen, Syed Salahuddin, on behalf of ISI. This money was being given to Hurriyat Conference and separatist leaders via businessmen, via Hawala route. This was being given to them to carry out activities like stone pelting, to carry out burning down of government buildings, targeting schools, etc. And even though Hurriyat and separatist leaders said that they were only helping out those who were being unfairly targeted by the Indian establishment, the fact remains, and this is what NIA said in its charge sheet, that there is evidence to prove otherwise. There is evidence to prove that this was purely financing of terror. Now, where does Yasin Malik fit into all this? He is crucial, because not only is NIA now presenting evidence, they have an accused who's accepting that all the charges leveled are correct. There is a criminal conspiracy, there is a common intention section 34 charge as well. So if Yasin Malik accepts that indeed he was getting money from Pakistan to carry out terrorism in the valley, whatever the other accused might say, that common intention, that common chain of evidence could help NIA ultimately secure conviction. And that is why this case is very important, not just to secure conviction in the Patiala House Court, the special NIA court, but also to present a dossier to the world to showcase how Pakistan continues to attempt to destabilize Jammu and Kashmir.
Right. I'm also joined by Tejinder Singh Sodhi to get the latest from Jammu and Kashmir. Tejinder, Yasin Malik was one of the key conspirators behind the exodus of the Kashmiri Pandits, but even after that, he was seen hobnobbing with a lot of people in the establishment under the UPA regime, and at the same time, he was considered a freedom fighter in the Kashmir Valley, meeting a lot of those eminent personalities, if you will, when it came to his dealings in the capital. And now he himself is not contesting the charges of terror and sedition. What is the resonance of this development in Jammu and Kashmir, given the amount of atrocities this man has committed?
Ayushman, Yasin Malik is the one who was at one point in time rubbing shoulders with the who's who of the country, despite knowing the fact that he was the one who was responsible for the killing of several innocent civilians, which include the killing of the wing commander of the Indian Air Force and his colleagues in Srinagar. So Yasin Malik is known that he was a terrorist. After that, he became a separatist leader. His organization, his outfit, the Jammu Kashmir Liberation Front, was one of the active participants of the Hurriyat conglomerate. So you see, Yasin Malik now saying that he will not, he has pleaded guilty in the case of terror financing. You see, this was the case as already broken by my colleague Arunima. Yasin Malik was directly involved in terror financing. As per the NIA charge sheet, he was involved in terror financing case. He was involved in getting money from Pakistan, distributing that money two terrorists and OGWs in Jammu and Kashmir to carry out subversive activities, which included stone pelting, arson, burning of schools, carrying out terror activities in Kashmir Valley, and also creating a mayhem-like situation. Now that for the past couple of years, Yasin Malik has been behind bars, so the people in Kashmir Valley, especially the youth, have understood that these stooges were acting on behest of Pakistan. They were instigating the youth, misguiding them, radicalizing them to tell stone, whereas their own kids and kids, they were leading a very luxurious life. You know that Yasin Malik's wife is a Pakistani painter. She lives. She's known for living a luxurious life. She has always been on page 3 in Pakistan. So this is the lifestyle which the kids and kins of these separatists have been living, whereas they are motivating and misguiding, or rather radicalizing the youth in Kashmir to tie stone, to take up gun. But these separatists, they have been completely exposed. You see that after the abrogation of Article 370 on August 5th, 2019.
Tejinder, I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm joined by Kavinder Gupta, former Jammu and Kashmir Deputy Chief Minister, on the broadcast. Mr. Gupta, thank you for joining us on the broadcast in the wake of this development coming in and that war on terror in Jammu and Kashmir. Yasin Malik, one of those dreaded terrorists who was given cover fire by the Congress. What answers will you demand from the Congress now that he has pled guilty to this slew of charges of spreading havoc in the Kashmir Valley?
देखिए, जो कश्मीर में तबाही होती रही उसकी जिम्मेवार कांग्रेस है। कांग्रेस ने ही इन लोगों को एक तरह से पाल के रखा हुआ था। मैं तो कहता हूं कि अगर इसको सही समय पर ऐसे सजा दी होती या इसको चार्ज किया होता तो शायद कश्मीर में इस प्रकार की मिलिटेंसी नहीं फैलती। और आज देर आए दुरुस्त आए, इसको मानते हैं हम, लेकिन इन लोगों ने कई बार हाईजैकिंग करके लोगों को मार करके स्वीकार भी किया, लेकिन उसके बाद भी उस टाइम की सरकारें इस चीज को करती नहीं थी। आज एक अच्छा निर्णय है, मुझे लगता है कि इसका स्वागत किया जाना चाहिए। आइंदा इस प्रकार की कोई हरकत न करे। इस प्रकार से जिन लोगों ने कश्मीर की तबाही के जिम्मेवार हैं, उनके लिए ये एक अच्छा मैसेज है।
Right. Thank you, Kavinder Gupta, for joining us on the broadcast and giving us your perspective in the wake of this big development coming in on the war on terror. More reactions coming in from the BJP. This one from Amit Malviya. Amit Malviya has tweeted, on the morning of 25th Jan 1990, dreaded terrorist Yasin Malik gunned down 4 Air Force officers in Srinagar. This was an act of war against the state and one of the many crimes he was responsible for. Dr. Manmohan Singh, as Prime Minister, met him for a discussion. Today, he pleads guilty to terror charges. That pitch coming in from the BJP, taking that direct shot at the Congress party for hobnobbing with the JKLF chief. That is Yasin Malik, who has pled guilty to a slew of charges, including terror, terror financing, sedition, and conspiracy. Remember, Yasin Malik is also seen as one of the dreaded terrorists of Jammu and Kashmir, who is responsible, one of the key conspirators of the exodus of the Kashmiri Pandits. And now the BJP taking that direct shot at the Congress, accusing them of giving cover fire to a man like Yasin Malik. Amit Malviya has tweeted, and I quote, on the morning of 25th Jan 1990, dreaded terrorist Yasin Malik gunned down 4 Air Force officers in Srinagar. This was an act of war against the state and one of the many crimes he was responsible for. Dr. Manmohan Singh, as Prime Minister, met him for, in quotes, a discussion. Today, he pleads guilty to terror charges. That's what's coming in from the BJP camp. Tejinder Singh Sodhi continues to be with us on the broadcast to get the latest when it comes to this political tussle that is emerging in the wake of Yasin Malik pleading guilty. So, Tejinder, the BJP clearly taking aim at the Congress to blame them for giving this man cover fire for so many years.
See, Ayushman, though these two cases are different, one is about the killing of Air Force officials and the other one is terror financing. Yasin Malik today pleaded guilty in the case of terror financing. But yes, what Amit Malviya has written, it's correct, because you see when on 25th of January 1990, Yasin Malik killed 4 Air Force officers, including a squadron leader. His wife, Nirmal Khanna, who was a witness of the entire episode, she had narrated this to the police. A case was filed, but the successive state governments and the central government never charged Yasin Malik. And we saw that when the so-called roundtable conferences initiated by the former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh happened in